So with Phantasmal Flames coming out, we want to see, are any of the Charizards actually affected from this? We know that the Mega set in general, once we kind of got that confirmed that that era was coming, Mega cards from previous eras started to have a little bit of market value inflation. Now, with the fact that obviously there is now a more themed kind of basis around these Charizard sets, do we know that they are going up in time? And I just wanted to have a look at a few of the obvious kind of boxes that we've got. Stuff that I've very rarely ever seen, from pin badges to specific Mega Charizard Y collection boxes, especially with the fact that we are getting a Mega Charizard X Ultra Premium collection box coming in the coming months as well. That's going to be another hot property to get on the market if we go up to the start. I didn't want to waste too much time on sealed products, but the main one obviously going to be the Ultra Premium from Sword and Shield. That one most definitely was an interesting one in itself and does feature the heavy marketed Charizard in this one as well. And you can see this is, I believe, a case of them, so 4 of them coming in way up now, looking at a 1.4, going all the way from 450 just a year ago, which is just insane. Obviously, we are in a very high inflated market at the moment. Sealed products I could see still being at a very high level in general, but we are definitely in a very inflated one. So don't expect things to, maybe even if it goes, say for instance we're at 380 here, it might not drop all the way down to 160 again, but it could tail off. It could go back down to 250. That doesn't mean that when it goes down, it has to go all the way down. It can still just down and bounce back up a little bit. Sealed product has always been a very financially good product to go into, but it can still go down. It just doesn't mean that you are guaranteed X amount of profit as such. But in terms of the Charizard box, we knew that this one was going to be fantastic. You could have got it pretty much for a long time sub 200, and now, like we say, we're up at 380 at this point. Is absolutely nuts. And you can see the sales are quite there. Naturally, they are dwindling, like we're looking at 10 to 15 for the week there. Did get a big week there, I must admit, 97. So there is definitely a room for Charizard on the list. He is going to be the fan favourite for a lot of people. There is a lot of people that personally just don't like him because he has been pushed so much. But Charizard is a nostalgic icon for myself. Yes, he's not my favourite, but he's definitely up there with the best of them for my personal self. And most definitely I like when we do have him, like a Reshiram Charizard box. I thought personally it's nice when they kind of introduce him as well. When you get the trio starters, when you get him with other fire beasts, it's absolutely fantastic. But today is about the cards to see, are we getting any price increases on some of these mega cards? Now, obviously, if you are from a nostalgic era back in 96 to 2000, I suppose, the Shining Charizard is an absolute key component in this one personally. It's absolutely mega. I have had this one taken away and we'll kind of leave it there. And in general, I would have loved to have seen this. Granted, it definitely wasn't first edition, but I have at least been an owner of this card way back in the day. Definitely not at the price point we're at right now. In terms of data, what we're looking at, we got 2 grand damage, obviously at 400. Mint, moderately played, sorry. Moderately played at 998. Near mint, obviously at 2 grand. Do we get to see a picture of it? Sometimes this never works out for me, but I'm just always interested to see. Oh, that is beautiful. It looks a bit funky around here. The card itself, like this looks clean. That just, I don't know, it must be the picture, but in general, that looks absolutely fantastic. Do I dare see the damage? A bit of a crease in a corner. Yeah, it's definitely played with, to say the least. And then we've got another near mint. Sometimes you just like to see that some people have kept them in such a condition. Obviously, I don't know if I'd quite say near mint, just because you've got the scratching on there. I mean, the corners look impeccable. Whether you'd count them corners as really scratched or not, I mean, the card still looks absolutely fire. Like, a condition for that is absolutely brilliant. But I'd possibly go light played with that, to be honest, with a few of them scratches. But again, it might be a different ball game when it comes to such an old card in its making. Now, Delta Species, personally, I wasn't in the game by that point. I've very rarely seen it other than when I've come back recently. Obviously, again, market prices is going to be crazy. Like these cards don't really shift that much compared to obviously then kind of going into the kind of lower end, because they're already at such a peak value. Like, in general, you just look at that, it's just absolutely crazy. So, in general, these cards are going to be at that same sort of massive price. You see the Charizard EX, you've got Dragon from a secret rare. I'm kind of interested when you kind of go a bit further down into the X and Y, when you're looking more towards Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield. Probably X and Y would be the lowest I'd say I'd go, to then see maybe a price like Expedition. I can't imagine is going to have a crazy knock on. Like, you might see a slight increase, like maybe $5-10, but I'd be interested to see what like an EX Charizard does. Does it have any wiggle room, especially if it is in some sort of mega orientation? So if we have a look at this one in X and Y, we're obviously seeing a bit of an increase in general. Like you can see, the main thing when you're looking at prices personally is you want to look at the sales, you want to look at that kind of price increase. If you go to view more data, you can obviously see dates. Obviously, it's not a very liquid card as such. You are taking a lot of time to get this gone, as it is a more of a bigger price piece. It's going to be one of them ones that a lot of people need to really see it in person a lot of the time. You're not really getting rid of a card like this over eBay. Like, you wouldn't risk that much factor sending it. You'd have to definitely be selling this kind of in person, taking it to a vendor, taking it to a show, selling it there. Then obviously that's going to be the interesting side. But we're seeing a bit of an increase in that sort of side there. Then if we go a bit further down, you got so many wonderful ones, from the Dark Charizard to just the normal base Legendary Collection. What about the Shining Charizard? Again, we're looking a bit high value, that maybe there's not going to be too many on the sales category. You can see a massive boom coming from that kind of prismatic era, is kind of this inflation, and we're kind of seeing a bit more of a correction now, but even so, it's going to take a while to go down. So let's move a little bit further down. Loads of the kind of Evos, the base set 2, as we do go through. I kind of want to look at some of these. Look at the Paldean Fates. Some beautiful artworks across the board. Alternative art. We've got this Champion's Path Charizard. That is stunning as well. X and Y full art. We've got the Mega Charizard again. Then if we go a bit further down, we'll kind of look through Champion's Path Secret, X and Y Evolutions. Love this one as well. This one in person I've seen recently is an absolute stunner. So some absolutely gold mines when it comes to Charizards. This obviously is one that is just flying at the minute. I don't think a set would even change this one. It's absolutely up. It did have a little bit of a dip, which was really nice to see, but as you can imagine, it was always flying back up. It's one of them cards that dips slightly, but will always come back up. It's a fan favorite. 151 is such a lovely set. Now, it may not be my favorite Charizard in terms of what we've seen just with obviously the previous ones, but in terms of a special illustration rare, it's most definitely up there as one of my personal favorites in that sort of era. Obviously, then you've got your Megas. I personally wasn't around in the kind of start of X and Y. We are seeing maybe a bit of an increase here. We've kind of come down slightly, but again, it's not that much. Like, we're looking the difference between like 50 and 54, 55. That could just be a general increase over time. We see that it's come down from 20. We knew that once the Mega Evolutions was kind of announced, they were always going up, and most definitely across the board, Megas have been kind of going up slightly, and it will be interesting to see if there is a big offload now that they're all at that sort of peak. If you've got kind of like the Mega institution of just crazy amount of EXs from previous, then it could be an interesting time to take your bank really with them. Paldean Fates one obviously has had a lovely curve going up at the moment. We're starting to see that really come to fruition. Like, again, we came into that inflation period, and then to be fair, I must admit, it went against the curve. Normally it was until March that they started going up, but as you can see, did start dipping in that February time, and it's gone all the way from July like most cards, and it seems to be now we're starting to get a bit more of an increase. It could be that this increase is becoming because of Inferno X and Phantasmal Flames, but it will be interesting to see if it's really had that effect to nearly, I mean, it's not doubled, but at least a $60 to $100 bonus on top. Always interesting to see if that is a root cause of it. Now, again, another fantastic one. An artwork perspective for me, this is absolute peak Charizard. That between the Venusaur, if you could have just got, and I know they've done the opposite way, and I know we've seen it with the Mewtwo, if they could have just got a Blastoise here, somewhere kind of in this background, just maybe move the perspective over, that for me would have been my one of absolute chase cards going for, because that would have been such a nostalgic hype in general. But I love this card for what it is. It's absolutely perfect. It's, again, coming up a really nice price, which we could imagine. I must admit, when we were going through the Sword and Shield era, maybe when we did get kind of towards the end, you got to your Crown Zeniths, you got to obviously your Silver Tempest, you saw a lot more of an increase in these alternative arts, and we saw the direction that we're going. I must admit, through then the Sword and Shield, the Scarlet and Violet, it seems to be that they've just taken that and absolutely ran with it. But I really like a lot of the Sword and Shield. There is some wonderful Scarlet and Violet cards, but there's something about when a card's not in a print run, or it's not necessarily your newest set, you don't see it absolutely day in, day out. It just, you almost forget about it, and then once it's come back, you realise, like, that is such a cool card. So in general, there's been quite a lot. Even some of the Vs, I must admit, the Vs compared to the EXs, way better. Now, with this card personally, we are seeing kind of that, again, very difficult to kind of buy. It's just not really got the legs or the sales to go with it. You can get rid of it, but naturally with Champions Path, it seems to be, if you have been in the game for quite some time, it seems to be a set that a lot of people have managed to collect. It's not necessarily the most expensive set to go from the Sword and Shield era, but it's an interesting one to say the least with it. Then we come back a little bit more into the Sun and Moon. Obviously, this is coming in Japanese, so we might see a little bit of a difference in English. So, yeah, we don't really have a great amount of data with that one personally. Tag teams as well have gone through the roof. But if we go back a little bit to X and Y, I can imagine we are just going to get very little details when it comes to Charizard being sold. Like you can see the dates of it. It is going up, which is nice. I mean, 292. I mean, that is fantastic. I'm assuming we're going off damaged. Yeah, I was going to say, that's got to be a damage then. There's no way that this is a $50 card, but somebody's willing to pay 290. It could have been guaranteed a 10, and I don't think they'd pay that. Now, obviously, the Megas, like we say, we've got a decent amount of kind of Mega data from across the board, and they are going up. Like, naturally, like I say, you could have, in October, I think Megas were kind of announced, or at least it was teased around, or was it, bro, before Prismatic? It might not have been. It might have been actually kind of your March time, actually, when Prismatic was kind of in that full flow. We knew that we were coming towards the end, because then we knew the Mega was coming, and then bang, black and white, 800 cards. It was like, okay, well, that's a final set potential. What on earth is going to happen? And then we saw the big increase going. So you could have picked up all of these at 40 and then absolutely doubled it out at 80, which is always fantastic. Then we've obviously got another Champions Path coming in. Again, data is not going to be crazy, like I say. You're going to see a decent amount coming in with it. You've got most recent sales at 150. That is moderate price as well. We've got Near Mint coming in roughly around about the same as well. We then go into Evo. Evolutions. Beautiful card again. Coming in at the moderate played one. But I want to see. 142 is the most here. We've got it at Near Mint at 140. Heavy played at 50, 60. So that's fair enough, to be honest. Again, lovely card. Mega's going up, as we always imagine. And this is probably the one of the most iconic ones coming into it. And more than likely, this one will see, like I say, a nice price increase over the past year. We've seen it at 40 all the way up to that 90. I mean, that is the picture of a Mega Charizard that I personally would say, if I was to pick one of the basics, like this is just a general set, like it comes in at 12 out of 83. You wouldn't, that's basically a Charizard EX as such. That is a stunner. It's a beautiful Mega X, and it's going to come in absolutely top dollar. So Charizard in itself is like I say, it's always going to be a fan favorite. There may be some people that personally don't like it because it's been pushed so much, but in general, if you are a Charizard collector, this set is made for you coming in, and it's an interesting one to see where a lot of the cards, because we don't know the SAR yet, where that card is going to land in comparison to all of these. Like, even when you just go back, like personally for me, the nostalgic of vintage, and even just coming up to like your Diamond and Pearl, these sets were kind of the one for me. And just looking at the holographic on it is just extra. It just has that extra crisp. And I can see why people are obviously going back more towards vintage. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind the Obsidian Flames, but it's not my favorite. Like I'm not. It's not my personal design for Charizard. I get how the artist is kind of portraying it, but it's not personally what I would go for. Now, again, we're seeing a lovely increase on this one all the way in August. Jeez, you could have bought it at 60. Whether that's got to be an effect on obviously the market. We got near mint for this one. What could we have got it at? 40 at the lowest last year. All the way up at 120 is absolutely crazy. Have we got any Japanese data for this version? This one, I mean, you don't get too much. Like, you can get a little bit going on, and again, you can kind of see this one doing around that same sort of vibe as well. Then if we kind of go through, I wonder, has the classic collection gone up? I know there's been circulations of this more and more, most definitely. We're not going to see too many. You see a few sales, to be fair, from 60 to 90. Kind of standard across the board really there. And then as we go a bit further down, love the promo. That is just stunner in itself. We have got the Shining Fates VMAX. This is the English variation. What do we got? Coming in 106, 102. Very little sales. We've got lightly played. What are we looking for near mint? 117, 103. A bit standard. Obviously, kind of last year looking at 70. So it's gone up slightly. Then obviously you got Expedition, Aquapolis, Skyridge. Them sets around that sort of time just really took it to that next level. Obviously tag teams were always going up. The Blaine's Charizard naturally. I wouldn't. Do we really get that much difference? I know tag teams have gone up in general. Like there just seems to be a really big push for them in general. So 36 all the way up to 85 is absolutely crazy. So naturally we are seeing, and that's probably the other Mega Charizard that I'd say. You've obviously got that previous, the X version. This is obviously the Y. I personally would say this is another one that is well worth the hype, and that coming in at 8 is absolutely crazy. Literally doubled straight off the bat, which is nice. And it's not all about like they're going from 100 to 1,000. Even just a simple of a $5 card going into 20, going into like 15 or 30. It's still incredible to see that value double. You've bought a card, if it's intentionally for an investment, you've bought that card to then flip it later on down the line. It's why sometimes buying 2 of a card that you think has potential isn't really it's not a bad move really. This is the Mewtwo variation that I really like. Again, I just love having multiple little gimmicks in there, little Diglett. Obviously, then you've got Tangrowth coming in. You've got Mewtwo versus, obviously, Charizard. I love them sort of artworks where they accompany multiple. Some beautiful in there. And even then, looking at this, to think, if you saw this card now in comparison to the market that we have, that is absolutely criminally crazy that in September, this is a $12 card. That is absolutely nuts. Now, obviously, it's a promo, so it's a bit different, but you just know that card is going to go up. Coming in at 46 now is like I say, it's absolutely nuts to think you wouldn't. But like I say, some of these cards, you look at the kind of the Cosmo Hollows. Like I know they're not necessarily secret rares, but even these, in general, having a little bit of a price glow up in general, from coming in at 8 all the way up to 11, 12, it does add some value to the collection, which is absolutely what you want. Now, obviously, when you do look at that's the Japanese variation of most of these. So I think we're probably coming towards the end into then kind of your other sets, obviously into the Charizard deck more so than anything. But in general, it's an interesting one. Charizard seems to be going up alongside it. It's definitely going to be a great set. I cannot wait to see the artworks for it because naturally Charizard does tend to have some absolute monster artworks, and this will be possibly one of the better secret art rares. I've just got a funny feeling that this is going to be incredible, especially with the Mega. If they could, and this is, I've not got no information or anything, if they could figure out this, and if they were to do this and have a card with a Mega Y and X, it could be one or the other. It doesn't have to be like a tag team sort of thing. But if you had multiple Charizards, especially Megas, of the X and Y in the same artwork, I mean, that one it just would be. It'd be the absolute pinnacle for me. So I'm interested to see. I'll keep up to news with the Phantasmal Flames, and hopefully we do get our hands on it at some point. But let me know what you think about them. Make sure you like and subscribe, and how many Charizards are in your collection. Peace.